Hello there and welcome back to Gemma Movie Recap. Today I'm going to recap Emancipation, a 2022 action thriller film. Warning, spoilers ahead. Please be cautious. But before we start, please support our channel by subscribing and click the bell icon for future notifications. Now, let's start. According to the initial text, following Abraham Lincoln's signing of the Emancipation Proclamation and Declaration of Freedom for Slaves, approximately 35,000 slaves located in rebellious states were anticipating liberation by the Union Army. They were presented with the option to either wait for the army to arrive or take matters into their own hands and seek out their own path to freedom. In Louisiana, in the year 1863, a slave by the name of Peter is saying his goodbyes to his family, consisting of his wife Dodiane and their children Betsy, Cyprian, and Laurette, as he is about to be relocated to a different plantation in Clinton. Despite being forcefully removed from his home, Peter resists the handlers and fights to stay with his loved ones. However, when one of the men threatens to harm Dodiane with a gun, Peter ultimately gives in and is taken away with the other slaves. One of the handlers acknowledges Peter's exceptional skill as a blacksmith. Upon their arrival in Clinton, Peter and his fellow slaves are put to work and subjected to unrelenting mistreatment and prejudice. One slave, John, who had previously attempted to escape, is punished by being branded on his cheek. During the night, Peter speaks about his unwavering belief in God, but John refutes his claims, stating that there can be no divine being looking out for them given their present circumstances. Peter overhears that Lincoln's army is in Baton Rouge and that many slaves are running in that direction for freedom. He devises a plan to cross through the swamps to escape. When being forced to bury dead slaves in a ditch, Peter waits for explosions to go off so he may attack and kill the handlers. He and several slaves begin running toward the swamp, chased by a group led by Fassel. One of the slaves, Tomas, is attacked by the handler's hounds. Fassel tells Tomas he can go free if he tells the men where the other slaves are headed. When he says Baton Rouge, Fassel lets him wander far enough into the swamp before he shoots Tomas and lets the gators have what's left of him. Peter splits up with the other slaves and begins to make his own way to freedom, while Fassel and his men continue their pursuit. Peter is spotted by a slave owner's child daughter and his men chase him before he retreats to the swamp. He fights off a gator and tends to his wound while he hides in a tree. Fassel and his men, accompanied by house slave Knowles, stop for the night and cook a gator. Fassel recounts a story about his childhood where a female slave would take care of him and was friendly toward him. When Fassel asked his father to invite her to dinner, his father replied that giving slaves anything would lead to them taking what the men believed they were entitled to. After Fassel told his father that he had been sneaking food to the woman, his father stabbed her and left her in the fields to die over 3 days. Back on the other plantation, Dodiane is told that the plantation's owner, Captain Lyons, has sold her to another owner and that she will not be taking her children and must marry another man. She prepares her children for separation. While working on a cotton machine, Dodiane sticks her arm in to injure herself and make her unable to be sold. Peter continues to do what he can to survive, foraging for food and water, and also trying to keep himself warm. He also uses onions to mask his scent from the slave owner's dogs. He runs into John and gives him onions to mask his scent as well. When Fassel and his men get close, John climbs a tree while Peter hides. Fassel shoots John down and decapitates him when he will not give up Peter's location. At night, Peter comes across a burned-down house where the family has been murdered. He finds a slave girl and tries to carry her to safety, but she is gravely injured and dies after giving him a cross necklace. A slave handler appears and attempts to take Peter in, but he manages to shoot him, along with Knowles. Before killing him, Peter tells Knowles he is the worst kind of person for supporting his abusers.
Come on!
In the morning, Peter gets closer to Baton Rouge as he hears the cannons of Lincoln's army. However, Fassel catches up to him and attempts to forcefully apprehend him. The Union soldiers arrive and shoot Fassel in the neck, killing him. They then bring Peter with them. Peter is transported to a camp where he receives medical treatment and is informed that in order to secure his and his family's freedom, he must join the Union Army. Peter is then directed to a tent where photographers take images of his exposed back, displaying the multitude of lash scars on his skin, with the intent of showing the world the atrocities of slavery. After enlisting in the Union Army, Peter assumes the role of a soldier and accompanies Captain Andrew Caillou to meet with General Dwight. When questioned by Dwight about his motivations, Peter declares that he will fight against those who have mistreated him. The soldiers are instructed to infiltrate a Confederate camp and seize their cannons. As they enter into battle, numerous soldiers suffer severe injuries, including Caillou. Peter leads a charge in which the Union forces overpower the Confederates, ultimately taking control of the camp. The native guard marches through Peter's old plantation, where he witnesses lions being executed. The people on the plantation are declared free, and they celebrate their news. Peter walks around and searches for his family, and after a while, he has a tearfully joyful reunion with them. They begin to pray. The ending text states that the image of the man Peter was based on became a world-known image and cry against slavery. On June 19, 1865, more than 4 million enslaved African Americans were recognized as free. So, what do you think about this movie? Did this movie impress you? Well, maybe you can write it in the comment section. If you like this video, don't forget to like it, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.